Okay, hey there, John. I've been following your work for a while now, and I really respect the depth and clarity you bring. It's rare and it cuts through the noise. That said, something has been nagging me. With everything going on out there, war, politics, climate, AI, you hardly mention any of it. I'm curious, how come you don't talk about what's happening in the world? Appreciate your perspective. Do I not? Yeah, I don't much. Because well, for a couple of reasons. I think the things I do talk about are kind of timeless in a way, and uh, the what goes on in the world has been going on in the world for a long time. It's different, of course, but the themes are the same, and it's just unconsciousness being turned into consciousness, and the feeling of things are worse than they've ever been. That's constant. The next generation is terrible. That's constant. Every generation thinks that. So it's like, it just goes on like that. And the terrible things happen. That goes on. Wonderful things happen. A lot more wonderful things happen than we are um, encouraged to look at. And I think the most helpful thing is the sort of things I talk about, which is like what's going on inside you, and that the more you can discover and work through your own unconsciousness, the more that actually impacts the bigger picture. And as I've said before, if you're moved to go and do something about something, great, go and do that. But if you're not, then face that. I'm not moved to go and do anything about this. That's fine. But keep going on with looking inside and working through your unconsciousness as consciously as possible. The more consciously you can work through your unconsciousness, the more helpful it will be for the bigger picture. That's my observation, and that's my perspective. I'm not saying I'm right, because you can't, nobody knows, you know. All you can do is find something that works for you. Because, you know, I know people who are, like my mother, for example, was very focused on the news, because in her generation, which came out of World War II, and all sorts of terrible things came to light after it. And she was like, well, I didn't know. And if I'd known, of course, now we know everything. And I don't know if she would have done anything. But for her, it's like, no, I need to keep up with the news because I don't want that to happen again. And kind of missing that there's a lot of manipulation goes on in the news these days. And the news is very skewed towards unconsciousness and how terrible things are. So to ingest the news is a bit like ingesting junk food and thinking you're going to feel healthy as a result of it. You probably won't. You know, I think with any kind of content that you consume, it's always good to kind of think of it like food and go, how do I feel after this? And if I feel more afraid and more upset and more despairing, is that how I want to feel? Now, I know there are lots of people who go, yeah, but that's what's really going on. That's the real reality. That's fine. If that's where you see things, then that's fine. I'm just talking about responding to this person's question about why I don't talk about it. Because to me, it's like, you can just, if you read history, and I don't, it's not like, you know, I'm in there with the history books every night, but I know enough about history to kind of see the repeating patterns of things. And every period of time that a person is born in has its things going on. And, you know, we've got the things going on in our time in history that are going on now. So for me, I'm not moved to do anything particular about anything that's going on. If I was, I would. I know myself well enough to know that if I was moved, I would. So I just have to sit with the pain of kind of the suffering of humanity in different ways. That's very difficult. I do work behind the scenes in the way that I can. There are Tibetan monks who pray every day in their monastery, and that's the way they do. And then there are people on the front line, aid workers and whatever. And I think everything has its place. So I don't talk about it because it to me it's not as important as the things I do talk about. But I'm conscious of what's going on. I do know what's going on, even though I don't seek it out on the news, like my mother. I still do know what's going on. And it's heartbreaking and inspiring. The terrible things are heartbreaking, and the inspiring things make me weep. They're so beautiful, the amazing things that people are doing around the world. So that's why I don't talk about it that much. Let's not say it's not a rule, just it doesn't, of all the things I could talk about, I prefer to answer your questions or respond to them. I don't think I have answers. It's just my perspective.